Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, FPL Consult here, and today we're going to take a look at a Game Week 7 wildcard draft. So I'll be honest, when I was making this draft, before I made it, I didn't want a wildcard, but when I made it, I was kind of feeling as if this was a team that I really wanted for Game Week 7, and it kind of made me think for a little bit whether I should wildcard or not. And to be honest, I am currently now 50-50 on whether I should wildcard or not. I'll probably end up not wildcarding, but this team is basically a very strong team from Game Week 7 all the way forward until the midway point of the season, and you can make a couple of transfers after that to adjust your team. So I do feel like this draft is going to be really useful for those of you guys who are watching. If you guys enjoy it, please give it a like and also subscribe as well if you are new around here. So let's get on with the video. And in Game Week 7, if you're wildcarding, I do feel as if a lot of your players would center around not a lot of your players, but you will have some double game week players, namely Kabori here and also Morris up front. It's a little bit of a spoiler, but definitely you will have at least a couple of double game week players. And then you also have to make sure you target a couple of other teams that are performing really well right now. Newcastle is one of them. West Ham does have fixture swings coming up. Game week 8, you would want to target Liverpool players, Aston Villa players, Spurs players as well. So this is when you would have to bring all of them into your team already. And prepare for the coming game week. So we're gonna go in goal here with Areola. Now, as I've mentioned, West Ham is a team that has really good fixtures coming up. Sheffield at home in game week 7 is definitely a good fixture for Areola. He doesn't seem as if he's gonna lose his place anytime soon. So he's a really cheap keeper as well. I think it's 4.2 million right now, so really cheap. And I don't see that he loses his place anytime soon, as I mentioned. So I think he's safe to keep for the long run. Now, in defense, we have Botman, Shah, and Kabori. Now, Kabori is here as a 4.0 million bench fodder, to be honest, but because of Game Week 7, where he has a double, Everton away and Burnley at home, he is actually the most attacking Luton defender. So having him here is definitely a plus, and he will just drop to the bench as a bench fodder from Game Week 8 onwards. Now we're going to double up in Newcastle defense here with Botman and Shah against Burnley at home. Now the reason why I've gone for Shah as the second Newcastle defender instead of going for a Botman and Trippier double up is because Trippier is quite expensive. He's at 6.6 million now. He just had a price rise after game week 6, so already he's quite expensive. Yes, he does have a really high ceiling, much higher than Fabian Schär, but what the extra 1.6 million allows us to do in the midfield as well as the forward positions is just, I feel, a decent compromise. If we're going to go without Trippier, at least we're going to make good use of the funds. And I do feel like going for Shah, we still cover Newcastle defense with a good run of fixtures coming up, of course. And with most game weeks, we're going to play Botman and Shah together. But with that extra 1.6 million, I think we can spend it quite well elsewhere. So we're going to discover how I use that budget in the midfield and the forward positions. But for now, this is how the defense for this Game Week 7 draft is likely to look like. Let's take a look at the midfield. So in midfield, it's absolutely stacked, right? All 5 of these midfielders have good reason to be here, and we'll touch on them one by one. But if you take a look, we have actually hit all the different price points in this particular midfield. Now, the most expensive premium here is Salah, Son around the 9 million price bracket, slightly 0.5 cheaper at the 8.5 million bracket, we have Saka. At the 7 million bracket, there's Bowen, and then at the 6.5 million bracket, there is Diaby. So this midfield is actually hitting all the different price points, and it's quite expensive, let's be honest. Right, so that's kind of why we needed to downgrade Trippier to Shah in defense, as I mentioned just now. The extra 1.6 million just allows us to do so much more in the midfield. Now, let's go for the most expensive midfielder now. The reason why I have Salah in this draft, he's at 12.5. He's really expensive, there's no denying it, but I do feel like he justifies his price tag. He's nailed for 90 minutes. Liverpool is a team we have to target at least one attacker in our drafts, and he's the only one that we will know is guaranteed to start, right? The rest of the other attackers, whether it's Diaz, whether it's Nunes, whether it's Jota, Gakpo, etc., none of them are nailed starters, but Salah is nailed. He's a 90-minute man. He's going to be on penalties, and also he's looked a lot more creative this season. Maybe he's not taking as many shots, but he's created so many chances. So to be honest, yes, he hasn't blanked in any of the first couple of game weeks, but to be honest, he should have gotten much more returns if players like Darwin Nunes, even Diogo Jota in the first couple of game weeks where Salah put some really good crosses to them, if they finished it, Salah would probably be the highest scoring midfielder by now, right? So there we go with Salah. Next up, we have Son. Now, the reason why I've gone for Son here is, of course, from Game Week 8 onwards, Tottenham's fixtures are really good. Yes, in Game Week 7 he plays Liverpool, so not that great. But then again, Tottenham are a team that are scoring so freely and easily now that I feel like Son could very well get a goal against Liverpool, right? There's no saying that he won't, and there's a potential that he's on penalties. It's not guaranteed, but there's a potential. So we're gonna have Son here in preparation for Game Week 8 onwards, of course. And next up, the next most expensive would be Saka at 8.5. Now, he's, of course, on penalties, nailed 90 minutes, etc. We know the drill with Saka, but he plays Bournemouth here away. Now, away fixtures aren't the best fixtures for Saka. We know that based on historical performances, but Bournemouth is just a game that I feel Arsenal will kind of blow Bournemouth away, and that's why we have him here. He may very well become a James Maddison in Game Week 8 if you decide to make that transfer later on, right? But his price point at 8.5 million just allows you to do a lot. You can go to a lot of different players from that 8.5 million price bracket. Now, next up we have Jarrod Bowen. I think 7.1 million now, so he's pretty cheap in terms of what he offers, because he's kind of the talisman for West Ham, right? I know there is another player that players are considering from West Ham, which is James Ward-Prowse on set pieces, etc. But of course, Bowen is still the most advanced midfielder or forward for West Ham, and he's the one getting loads of chances as well. He get on the end of these attacking moves. So I do feel like Bowen, yes, he did well in Game Week 6. He scored against Liverpool, right? But I do feel like moving forward, he is a player that will prove to be quite a good differential as well. So we're going to go with Jarrod Bowen here. And then in the last midfield spot, we have Diaby. Now, he's at 6.5 million. He's a player that from the start of the season, I already wanted to target, but Aston Villa's fixtures just weren't there for us to jump on. Now, from Game Week 8 onwards, their fixtures are really good. And of course, now in Game Week 7, we have to prepare for that. So we're going to have Diaby here, who's playing Brighton at home. And that's not the easiest fixture for them, but Brighton are not exactly watertight as well. So there's every chance he could get a return here. And then from game week 8 onwards, it's a sea of green fixtures for him. So we'll be happy days there. And I do feel like he's a better asset to own than Ollie Watkins. He looks more clinical and more comfortable on the ball as well. So there we go with Diaby. We're going to go with this midfield 5. And let's take a look at the forwards. So up front, we have Erling Haaland, and of course we have Morris. Now, Carlton Morris would be just there to cover this double Game Week 7 where they have Everton away and Burnley at home. He's nailed for 90 minutes in both games. He's on penalties. Yes, his numbers aren't that good at all. His numbers are actually really, really poor based on the first 6 game weeks. His only 2 goals came from penalties. Yes, he got 1 assist, but Luton in general don't score a lot of goals. That's why I feel like he could be a threat. But now that in Game Week 7, now that we're here and you're wildcarding, you may as well just take advantage of this double game week here. So that's why I have Morris here and Haaland. I think he speaks for himself, so I don't have to go into too much detail. As for captaincy in this starting 11, it would really be up to you whether you want to go for Haaland or Morris. There are reasons to go for either of them. Wolves is a really good fixture for Haaland. Wolves' defense has just been so poor. You could see a similar scoreline like Newcastle against Sheffield for Man City and Wolves. So it could very well happen. And if you choose to captain Morris in that case, maybe you suffer a little bit there. But then again, the reverse can be said where, if Morris does really well against Everton and Burnley, which is a double game week fixture, he's going to play 180 minutes of football. He could get some decent returns there. If you do want to take advantage of that, that is also a decent captaincy option. Right, so there we go, the 2 forwards. Let's take a look at the bench. Now, the substitute keeper is still Turner. I feel like he will still be keeping his spot, at least for the near future. And he rotates pretty well with Areola as well. And not only that, he just enables you to do so much more with the money because he's so cheap at 4.0 million. So he's our bench for the keeper. Now, first on the bench is Matty Cash. Now, Matty Cash is also a player that we want to start consistently from Game Week 8 onwards once Aston Villa's fixtures pick up. Right? Matty Cash has been so attacking. He's playing on the right wing while he's a defender. Right? So he's getting into very advanced positions, and it's looking like Alex Moreno will be coming in for Luka Dean soon. But Matty Cash's position, I feel, will still be pretty safe, right? So, of course, there is some slight doubt whether he will be rotated, but I do feel like the upside with Matty Cash is so great that I would be alright to take the risk with him and start him consistently in from game week 8 onwards. Now, next up we have Udogie. Now, of course, this is in preparation for Tottenham's good fixtures from game week 8 onwards. So Udogie's on the bench now because he plays Liverpool at home, but come game week 8, I do see him as a consistent starter in this team, and on top of that, he's been looking looking very good attackingly. If Spurs keep a clean sheet and he keeps an attacking, if he gets an attacking return, which is definitely not out of his capabilities, then I do feel that a double-digit haul is in store for Udogie. Now, last on the bench, we have Archer, just a 4.5 million bench fodder. If we do want him to start, he is a player that we can count on to get some. He will get minutes, get decent minutes for Sheffield, and of course he can get that odd return where we saw him play pretty well against Everton. So there we go with this team. The budget for this team is 99.6 million, so it is actually really affordable for those of you guys who are struggling a little bit with team value. You can definitely afford this team. 3-5-2 is the formation. It's a default formation that you would generally play for most game weeks, but once game week 8 comes around, you may want to remove Morris and thereafter switch around maybe a 4-5-1 for a couple of game weeks where you shift around your money and then upgrade Morris to another second forward option. Right, so there we go with this team. Let me know what you guys are doing. If you are on a wildcard, game week 7 wildcard, right? Let me know how your draft looks like, what players you're going for, what changes you would make to this team, and thank you guys for watching as always. I hope this video was useful for you. If you did enjoy it, please give it a like and also subscribe as well if you are new around here, and I'll catch you guys in more game week 7 content very soon. Bye bye.